Taemin Park stood at the viewing window of the transport ship and watched Nexus Prime Academy grow larger in front of him. The massive space station orbited a giant gas planet that glowed with purple and blue colors. The Academy looked like a crystal flower floating in space, with dozens of arms stretching out from the center. His hands were sweating inside his gloves. 3 months ago, he had been a normal college student in Seoul, studying engineering and playing video games with his friends. Now he was the first human ever accepted into the most famous school in the galaxy. "Attention passengers, we will dock in 10 minutes, announced the ship's computer in perfect Korean. The translation system had learned his language during the long journey from Earth. Taemin picked up his small bag. Everything he owned that mattered was inside it. His parents had cried when he left Earth. His mother had packed enough instant noodles to last a year, not knowing that the Academy provided food for all species. The docking process was smooth. Taemin walked through the airlock and felt artificial gravity pull his feet to the floor. The air smelled clean with a hint of something like flowers. The walls around him were made of some kind of clear crystal that showed the stars outside. "You must be the human," said a voice behind him. Taemin turned around and almost jumped. A creature that looked like a giant spider was walking toward him on 8 legs. Its body was covered in dark green fur, and it had multiple eyes that glowed red in the dim light. "I am Professor Nixavara," the spider creature said. "I teach reflexes and movement studies. You will be in my class this semester." "Nice to meet you," Taemin said, trying not to stare. He had seen pictures of different alien species during his preparation training, but seeing one in person was different. "Follow me. I will show you to your room." They walked through corridors filled with the strangest mix of creatures Taemin had ever seen. A group of beings made of what looked like living rock moved slowly past them. Their steps made deep sounds on the crystal floor. Near a window, several creatures that seemed to be made of colored gas floated in the air, changing colors as they talked to each other. "Those are stonekin," Professor Nixavara explained, following his gaze. "They think very slowly but live for thousands of years. The floating ones are ethereals. They communicate using light patterns." They passed a food court where dozens of different species were eating. Some ate with tools, others absorbed nutrients through their skin, and a few seemed to be eating pure energy from glowing bowls. "Your roommate is crystalline," the professor continued. "His name is Binwoo. His species thinks much faster than most others, but they are very friendly." Taemin's room was on the 15th level of the Academy. The door recognized his genetic signature and slid open with a soft sound. Inside, the room was split into 2 sections. One side looked normal, with a bed, desk, and chair that seemed designed for someone his size. The other side had strange geometric shapes that glowed with soft blue light. "Hello, human friend," came a voice like wind chimes. "I am Binwoo." One of the geometric shapes moved and rearranged itself into something that looked vaguely like a person made of living crystal. Light moved through its body in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Hi," Taemin said. "I'm Taemin. Thanks for sharing the room with me. It is my pleasure. I have never met a human before. Your species is very new to galactic society. Only 50 Earth years since first contact, yes?" "That's right." Taemin put his bag on his bed. "What's it like here?" "Very interesting. Students come from all over the galaxy to study here. The Academy has the best teachers and the most advanced equipment. You will learn much." Binwoo's crystal body changed color from blue to green. "I must warn you, though, some students may not be friendly at first. Humans are considered primitive by many species. Your technology is simple and your lifespans are very short." This didn't surprise Taemin. During his preparation on Earth, the instructors had told him the same thing. Humans had only discovered faster than light travel 60 years ago. Most other species had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. "I understand," Taemin said. "I'm just here to learn." The next morning, Taemin attended his first class. Advanced physics was taught by Professor Haewon, a crystalline like Binwoo but much larger. The classroom was a sphere with students sitting on surfaces that faced the center from all directions. Taemin found himself sitting next to Daun, a Veltari with skin that changed colors like a rainbow. Her large compound eyes studied him with obvious curiosity. "So you're the human," she said. Her voice came from a translator device since her species communicated using sound frequencies that human ears couldn't hear. "Yes, I'm Taemin. I'm Daun. I study engineering like you." Her skin shifted to yellow patterns. I heard that humans learn very slowly compared to other species. Maybe, Taemin said. I'll do my best. Professor Haywan began the lesson by discussing quantum mechanics. The concepts were complex, but Taemin had studied similar topics on Earth. He was surprised to find that he could follow most of the discussion. After class, Da-Yun walked with him toward the cafeteria. You understood the lesson better than I expected, she admitted. Perhaps the rumors about human intelligence are wrong. At lunch, Taemin sat with a group of students from different species. Hyunwoo was an ethereal who glowed soft purple when he was happy. Jin-ae was a stone-kin whose massive body took up 3 seats. Subin belonged to a species called mind-weavers who could read thoughts, though she promised not to read his mind without permission. What classes are you taking? Asked Woo-jin, a Veltari who studied engineering. Physics, mathematics, galactic history, and movement studies, Taemin replied. Movement studies? Jin-ae's voice was deep and slow. That is Professor Nixavara's class. Very difficult. She tests reflexes and reaction time. All students must pass the reflexive response evaluation, Subin explained. It measures how fast your mind and body can react to danger. The score determines what jobs you can have after graduation. What kind of test is it? Taemin asked. You'll find out tomorrow, Hyunwoo said, his light flickering with amusement. Professor Nixvara announced it for next week. That evening, Taemin studied in his room while Binwoo processed information at speeds that made the crystal body blur with movement. His roommate could read entire textbooks in seconds, but he always took time to help Taemin understand difficult concepts. The reflexive response evaluation is important, Binwoo said during a break. My older sibling scored in the 95th percentile and got a job designing starships. Lower scores mean simpler work. What do you think I'll score? Taemin asked. Binwoo's crystal form changed to a thoughtful blue color. Humans are unknown. The testing machine has data for over 200 species, but no humans have ever taken the test. It will have to guess your capabilities based on your biology. Taemin looked out the window at the gas giant below. Its storms created beautiful patterns in the atmosphere. I just hope I don't embarrass myself. You will do fine, Binwoo assured him. Humans may be new to galactic society, but you have something many other species lack. What's that? Unpredictability. Most species develop in similar ways. Humans evolved under unique conditions. Your planet is unusual, and that may have made your species unusual too. Taemin wasn't sure what his roommate meant, but the words stayed with him as he fell asleep. Tomorrow would bring new classes and new challenges. In 1 week, he would face the test that would determine his future in galactic society. He had no idea that he was about to change the course of galactic history. The week passed quickly for Taemin. His classes were challenging but interesting. He learned about civilizations that had existed for millions of years, and technologies that seemed like magic. His professors were surprised by how well he adapted to the advanced concepts. Professor Nixavara's movement studies class was his favorite. They practiced different types of physical challenges that tested balance, speed, and coordination. Taemin noticed that he performed better than expected compared to other students, though he attributed it to his years playing sports in school. Tomorrow we begin the reflexive response evaluations, Professor Nixavara announced at the end of class. You will be tested in alphabetical order by species name. Crystallines will go first, then ethereals, followed by humans, and so on. Taemin felt his stomach tighten. Being the only human meant he would be tested alone, with no idea how others of his species might perform. The test is simple in concept, the professor continued. You will enter a chamber with the photon response matrix. This machine will fire harmless light beams at you from different angles and speeds. Your job is to avoid being hit. The machine measures your reaction time, movement efficiency, and ability to predict patterns. Dawn raised one of her forearms. What happens if we get hit by the beams? Nothing harmful. The beams are low-energy coherent light. They will register contact but cause no damage. However, each hit reduces your score significantly. After class, Taemin walked to the cafeteria with his usual group of friends. The conversation was dominated by nervous talk about the upcoming test. I'm not worried, Hyunwoo said, his ethereal form flickering between colors. My species has excellent reflexes. We evolved in an environment with many fast predators. Jin-ae moved her massive stone body slowly. My people do not score well on speed tests, but we are strong and durable. Different species have different strengths. What about humans? Wu Jin asked. What are your species' strengths? Taemin thought about it. We're adaptable, I guess, and persistent. Humans don't give up easily. Subin's large eyes focused on him. I sense nervousness in your thoughts. You're worried about representing your entire species. Wouldn't you be? Taemin replied. If everyone judges humans based on how I do tomorrow, that's a lot of pressure. That night, Binwu tried to help him prepare. The machine has tested hundreds of thousands of students over many years. It automatically adjusts difficulty based on each species' known capabilities. For you, it will have to estimate. What will it base the estimate on? Your physical structure, neural density, muscle fiber types, and reaction time from preliminary scans. Binwu's crystal form shifted to a calming green. The machine scanned all students during orientation week. Taemin remembered the quick medical scan he had undergone when he arrived. At the time, he thought it was just a health check. The next morning, students gathered in the testing facility. The main chamber contained the photon response matrix, a complex machine that filled most of the room. It looked like a giant metal flower with hundreds of small openings pointing in all directions. Observation windows allowed other students to watch the tests. Professor Nixavara called the first student. Dawan of the Veltari, please enter the chamber. Dawan walked into the testing area, her rainbow skin shifting to nervous blue patterns. The machine hummed to life and small lights began blinking across its surface. Beginning calibration for Veltari physiology, announced the machine's computer voice. Test commencing in 3, 2, 1. A thin beam of red light shot from one of the openings toward Dawan's left shoulder. She moved quickly, the beam missing her by inches. More beams followed from different angles. Taeyun danced between them, her compound eyes allowing her to track multiple targets at once. Impressive, Binwu whispered to Taemin in the observation area. She's avoiding 90% of the beams. The test lasted 5 minutes. When it ended, Dawan was breathing heavily but smiling. Score, 78 percentile for Veltari species, the machine announced. Excellent work, Professor Nixvara said. Next, Hyunwoo of the Ethereals. Hyunwoo floated into the chamber, his gaseous body shifting between purple and gold. The machine recalibrated itself and the test began. Beams of light passed through parts of his ethereal form without registering hits, while others were avoided by quick shape changes. Score 91 percentile for ethereal species. More students took their turns. Jin-A, the stone kin, moved slowly but efficiently, using minimal energy to avoid the beams. Her score was modest but respectable for her species. Young Min, a mind weaver, used his telepathic abilities to predict the machine's patterns and scored in the 85th percentile. Finally, Professor Nixavara called out, Taemin Park of the Humans. Taemin's legs felt weak as he walked toward the chamber. Every student in the observation area pressed against the windows to watch. This was the first time anyone had seen a human take the standardized test. Beginning calibration for human physiology, the machine announced. Species data insufficient. Estimating parameters based on biological scans. Taemin stood in the center of the chamber and looked around at the hundreds of beam emitters surrounding him. The walls were smooth metal, offering no place to hide. Estimated reaction time, moderate. Estimated agility, moderate. Estimated pattern recognition, moderate, the machine continued. Test parameters set for baseline difficulty. Test commencing in 3, 2, 1. The first beam came from directly in front of him, moving slowly enough that Taemin could see it clearly. He stepped to the side easily. Too easy, he thought. The second beam came from above, also slow and predictable. He leaned forward, and it passed over his head. The machine is being gentle with him, he heard Wu Jin say from the observation area. It thinks humans are slow. More beams came, gradually increasing in speed and complexity. Taemin found himself moving naturally, his body seeming to know where each beam would be before it fired. It felt like playing a video game, except his body was the controller. The machine began to increase difficulty faster than usual. Adjusting parameters, subject performance exceeds initial estimates. Now beams came from multiple directions simultaneously. Taemin dropped to the ground as 2 beams crossed above him, then rolled sideways to avoid a third. He came up smoothly and continued moving. This is unusual, Professor Nixvara muttered, studying her instruments. The machine is raising difficulty much faster than normal. In the observation area, students watched with growing amazement. HFY, the crystalline physics professor, had arrived to observe. Her crystal form was flickering rapidly, indicating intense concentration. "His neural patterns are strange," she announced. "The brain scans show activity levels that shouldn't be possible for his species' estimated capabilities." The test was now at difficulty levels typically reserved for the fastest species in the galaxy. Beams fired in complex patterns at speeds that should have been impossible for most students to track. Yet Taemin continued moving between them like he was dancing. 5 minutes remaining, the machine announced, increasing to maximum difficulty for subject parameters. The chamber erupted in a storm of light beams. Dozens fired simultaneously from every angle, creating a deadly web of coherent light. Most students would have been overwhelmed immediately, but Taemin moved through the chaos like water flowing around rocks. His breathing remained steady, his movements precise and efficient. He seemed to anticipate where each beam would be before it fired. "This is impossible," breathed Daon. "No first-year student should be able to handle maximum difficulty." 2 minutes remaining. The machine pushed harder, firing beams and patterns that violated its own programming. It was trying to tag the human student, but nothing worked. Every beam missed by inches or centimeters. 30 seconds remaining. Taemin had not been hit once. His score was perfect so far. Students were pressing against the observation windows, unable to believe what they were seeing. 10 seconds remaining. The machine made one final attempt. It fired every emitter at once, creating a sphere of light beams that should have been impossible to escape. For a moment, the chamber was too bright to look into. When the light faded, Taemin stood in the exact center of the chamber, untouched. Every beam had somehow missed him. "Test complete," the machine announced. But then something strange happened. Instead of giving a score, the machine made a sound like grinding gears. "Error. Error. Unable to calculate score. Performance exceeds all known parameters for tested species." Professor Nixavara stared at her instruments in confusion. The machine had never failed to score a student before. In the observation area, students whispered excitedly in dozens of different languages, but the real surprise was yet to come. As Taemin walked toward the exit, the machine suddenly fired one more beam. A test beam that wasn't supposed to be part of the evaluation. It was moving faster than any beam fired during the test, aimed directly at his face. What happened next would change everything. Time seemed to slow down as the unexpected beam shot toward Taemin's face. This wasn't part of the normal test. The machine had fired a calibration pulse, a diagnostic beam used to check its systems. These pulses moved at nearly the speed of light and were impossible to avoid. In the observation area, students gasped. Professor Nixavara's 8 eyes widened in alarm. The beam was moving too fast for any known species to react to it. Taemin should have been hit before his nervous system could even register the threat. But something impossible happened. Taemin's hand moved. Not in a normal way, but faster than anything the observers had ever seen. His right hand shot up and forward, fingers spread wide. For a moment that lasted forever and no time at all, his hand intersected the path of the coherent light beam. Then he closed his fingers. The beam stopped. Not deflected, not absorbed, but stopped completely. Taemin held the coherent light in his closed fist like he had caught a baseball. Photons that should have been traveling at 300 million meters per second were trapped between his fingers. "What?" Da-Yun's translator couldn't finish the sentence. The photon response. Matrix made a sound like a dying animal. Sparks flew from its sensors as quantum processors tried to understand what they had recorded. The machine's computer voice began repeating error over and over in different galactic languages. Taemin looked down at his closed hand. Streams of red light leaked between his fingers like captured fireflies. He could feel the energy trying to escape, warm and tingling against his palm. "How are you doing that?" Professor Nixavara whispered. "I don't know," Taemin said honestly. It felt like catching a ball. In the observation area, HFY, the crystalline professor, shattered into 1,000 pieces, her species equivalent of fainting. The fragments of her crystal body scattered across the floor, twinkling like broken glass. Binwu's entire body flashed through every color in the spectrum before settling on deep purple, the crystalline expression of complete shock. "This is impossible," Hyungmin the Mindweaver said, his telepathic abilities picking up the chaos of thoughts from everyone present. "Light cannot be caught. Light has no mass. Light cannot be stopped by biological matter. Security drones swarmed into the chamber, their sensors trained on Taemin. Emergency protocols activated as the Academy's computers tried to determine if this was an attack or a system malfunction. Taemin opened his hand slightly, and the trapped light escaped in bright streams. The photons dispersed normally once released, but their brief captivity had been recorded by dozens of instruments. Young-Soo, the Academy's dean, materialized in the chamber through spatial folding, a technology only his ancient species possessed. He was tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to reflect light from dimensions beyond normal space. His species, the Architects, had built the first galactic civilizations when most worlds were still forming. "Explain what happened," Young-Soo commanded, his voice carrying harmonics that made reality itself seem to listen. "The machine fired an extra beam," Taemin said, still staring at his hand. "I caught it. You caught light." "Yes, sir." Young-Soo studied Taemin with eyes that had seen the birth and death of stars. "Do you understand what you have done?" "No, sir. I just reacted without thinking." The dean's expression was unreadable. "Light travels at the fundamental speed limit of the universe. It has no mass, no substance that can be grasped. What you did violates every law of physics that governs galactic civilization." More professors arrived, along with scientists from other departments. Mi-jung, one of the few human staff members at the Academy, pushed through the crowd with quantum sensors in her hands. "I need to scan him," she said in accented galactic standard. Mi-jung was a physicist who had come to the Academy 5 years earlier as part of the Human-Alien Scientific Exchange Program. "Dr. Mi-jung," Young-Soo acknowledged. "Please proceed." Mi-jung ran her scanners over Taemin's hand and arm. The devices beeped and chirped as they recorded data. Her face grew pale as she read the results. "The quantum field signatures are unusual," she reported. "His cellular structure shows no abnormalities, but there are energy patterns I've never seen before." "What kind of patterns?" Professor Nixavara asked. "It's like his nervous system is interacting with space-time in ways that shouldn't be possible. The quantum fields around his body are more active than normal." Subin the Mindweaver approached carefully. "May I read your thoughts? I might be able to understand what happened from your perspective." Taemin nodded, still confused by everything happening around him. Subin placed her long fingers on his forehead. Her large eyes closed as she accessed his memories of the last few minutes. After a moment, she stepped back with a startled expression. His thoughts during the catch were... She paused, searching for words. He didn't think about physics or impossibility. He simply saw something moving toward him and decided to grab it. To his mind, there was no difference between catching light and catching any other object. "That makes no sense," Wu Jin protested. "Light isn't an object." "To him it was," Subin replied. His unconscious mind treated the photons as if they had mass and momentum. And somehow reality agreed with him. Young-Soo studied the broken remains of the photon response matrix. The machine had cost more than some planets' entire annual budgets, and it was now completely destroyed. In 50,000 years of operation, this machine has tested millions of students from over 200 species, he said slowly. It has never failed. More importantly, it has never encountered anything that violated the fundamental laws of physics. "What does this mean?" Taemin asked. The dean looked at him with an expression that might have been fear. "It means that humans are not what we thought they were." News of the incident began spreading through the Academy's communication networks. Students sent messages to friends and family across the galaxy. Within hours, the story had reached the major population centers of dozens of worlds. "The human broke physics" became the most shared headline in galactic news history. In his room that night, Taemin sat on his bed while Binwoo paced nervously around the room, his crystal form flickering with anxious colors. "This changes everything," his roommate said. "If humans can manipulate light, what else can they do?" "I don't know," Taemin replied. "I've never done anything like that before. But you must have had signs, strange experiences, moments when things didn't work the way they should." Taemin thought about it. There had been odd moments in his life. Times when he seemed to move faster than should be possible. Games where he could predict exactly where a ball would go. Tests where the answers came to him without studying. "Maybe," he admitted, "but I thought everyone could do things like that." "No," Binwoo said firmly. "No other species can catch light with their bare hands." Outside their window, the gas giant storms created beautiful patterns in the atmosphere. But Taemin wasn't looking at the view. He was staring at his hand, wondering what other impossible things it might be capable of. Across the galaxy, emergency meetings were being called. Scientists demanded explanations. Military leaders asked about weapons applications. Philosophers questioned what it meant for the nature of reality itself. But in a small dorm room orbiting a distant gas giant, a confused student from Earth was just trying to understand why catching a beam of light felt as natural as breathing. The Academy was in chaos. Within 12 hours of Taemin's impossible feat, ships began arriving from across the galaxy. Scientists, military officials, reporters, and government representatives all wanted to study the human who had broken the laws of physics. Taemin woke up to find security drones outside his window and guards stationed at his door. Binwoo's crystal form was a nervous yellow color as he processed the flood of communication requests. 47 universities want to study you, Binwoo reported. 12 governments have requested formal interviews. The Galactic Science Council has declared a state of emergency, and someone from the warrior caste of Draconis Prime has challenged you to single combat. Combat? Why? They believe you're using some kind of weapon or technology. They want to test your abilities in battle. Professor Nixavara arrived with Dean Young-soo and a group of beings Taemin didn't recognize. One looked like a tree with silver bark and golden leaves. Another appeared to be made of living metal that shifted and flowed as it moved. Taemin, the dean said, these are members of the Galactic Science Council. They need to ask you some questions. The tree being spoke in a voice like wind through leaves. I am Dr. Yelandros of the Sylvan Collective. We specialize in biological anomalies. Have you ever experienced unusual abilities before yesterday? I don't think so, Taemin said. I was pretty good at sports, but lots of people are. What sports specifically? Asked the metal being, whose voice sounded like ringing bells. Baseball, soccer, martial arts. I did well in video games too, especially the ones that required fast reflexes. Dr. Yelandros made notes on a device that grew from his wooden fingers. Did you ever catch objects that others thought were impossible to catch? Taemin thought about his high school baseball career. He had been known for making catches that amazed coaches and spectators. Balls that seemed certain to hit the ground would somehow end up in his glove. Maybe, he admitted, but I thought that was just practice and luck. Show us, Dean Young-soo said suddenly. Show you what? Catch something impossible. Professor Nixavara produced a small device from her equipment bag. This is a quantum randomizer. It fires particles in completely unpredictable directions. No known being can catch them because there's no pattern to predict. She activated the device and it began shooting tiny glowing specks in random directions around the room. The particles moved too fast for most eyes to follow. Try to catch one, she said. Taemin watched the chaotic dance of light particles for a few seconds. Then, without thinking, he reached out and plucked one from the air. The tiny speck of light sat in his palm, glowing softly. Everyone in the room went silent. That should be impossible, Dr. Yelandros whispered. The randomizer ensures no pattern exists to predict. How did you know where it would be? The metal being asked. I didn't think about it, Taemin replied. I just saw where it was going to go. More tests followed. They had him catch raindrops in a storm simulator, intercept laser communications between computers, and even grab individual photons from a laboratory light source. Every time Taemin succeeded with ease. We need to contact Earth immediately, Mi-jung announced after the tests. If Taemin can do these things, other humans might have similar abilities. What do you mean? Dean Young-soo asked. Think about it. Human sports are full of impossible catches and movements. Athletes who seem to defy physics. What if they're not defying it? What if they're manipulating it unconsciously? The implications hit everyone at once. If humans could manipulate fundamental forces without realizing it, Earth's entire species might be walking repositories of physics-breaking abilities. Emergency communications were sent to Earth through the quantum relay network. The response came back within hours. Human scientists wanted to send a research team immediately. Meanwhile, word of Taemin's abilities spread throughout the galaxy. The reaction was mixed and intense. Some species were fascinated. The ethereals, who existed as living energy, were particularly interested in how humans could interact with light. The crystallines wanted to study human neural patterns to understand how their brains processed impossible tasks. Other species were frightened. The warrior races saw humans as a potential threat. If one human student could catch light, what could a trained human soldier do? Military analysts began calculating the implications of physics manipulating troops. A few species were angry. The academic community was in upheaval as textbooks became obsolete overnight. Theories that had stood for millions of years were suddenly questionable. "This is a disaster," declared Professor Zinthara, an elderly, tentacled scholar from the academic homeworld. 50,000 years of scientific progress and one primitive human makes it all meaningless. Or he opens new possibilities, countered Dr. Velthari of the Progressive Research Institute. Perhaps we've been too rigid in our understanding of reality. The debate raged across scientific journals, news networks, and academic conferences. Some called for humans to be isolated until their abilities could be understood. Others demanded immediate collaboration to unlock the secrets of human physics interaction. 3 days after the incident, Earth's research ship arrived at Nexus Prime. Leading the team was Do-Hyun Kim, Earth's most famous quantum physicist, along with a group of specialists in human biology and psychology. Taemin met with the Earth team in a secure conference room. Dr. Do-Hyun was a small, energetic man who spoke rapidly and took notes constantly. "We've been studying the sensor data from your incident," he said without preamble. "The quantum field fluctuations around your body during the catch are unlike anything in our physics models." "What does that mean?" Taemin asked. "It means you're interacting with reality in ways we didn't know were possible. Your nervous system seems to influence quantum fields directly." Dr. Do-Hyun activated a holographic display showing complex mathematical equations. "We think it has to do with Earth's unique position in space. Our planet sits at the intersection of several quantum field anomalies that don't exist anywhere else in the galaxy." "What kind of anomalies?" "Ripples in space-time caused by the gravitational interaction between our Sun, Jupiter, and the galactic center. These create microfluctuations in the quantum foam that bathes our entire solar system." The explanation was complex, but the basic idea was simple. Humans had evolved in an environment where the laws of physics were slightly flexible. Over millions of years, human biology had adapted to take advantage of these fluctuations. "So all humans can do what I did?" Taemin asked. "To varying degrees, yes. Most people never realize their abilities because the effects are subtle. An athlete makes an impossible catch and calls it skill. A driver avoids an accident in ways that seem to defy physics and calls it luck. But you were in a controlled environment with sensitive instruments. We detected what was really happening. The revelation changed everything. Earth wasn't just another planet joining galactic civilization. It was home to a species that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality." "What happens now?" Taemin asked. Dr. Do-Hyun looked grave. "Now we figure out what it means for both humans and the galaxy. Some species will want to study us. Others will want to control us. A few might want to destroy us. And some," added Dean Young-soo, who had been listening quietly, "will want to learn from you." Outside the conference room, students and faculty waited for news. The galaxy held its breath, wondering what the humans would reveal next. In his room that night, Taemin stared out at the stars and wondered if his life would ever be normal again. He had come to the academy to study engineering. Instead, he had accidentally started a galactic revolution. The age of humans was about to begin, whether the galaxy was ready or not. 2 weeks after the incident that broke galactic physics, Nexus Prime Academy had become the center of the most important diplomatic crisis in galactic history. Ships from every major civilization orbited the station, their crews demanding answers about humanity's impossible abilities. Taemin had been moved to a secure section of the academy for his own protection. Some species wanted to study him, others wanted to recruit him, and a few wanted him eliminated as a threat to galactic stability. The situation came to a head when Seung-Min Lee, Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, arrived with a full diplomatic team. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes, but Taemin could see the weight of enormous responsibility on his shoulders. "Mr. Park," Ambassador Lee said during their first meeting, "your actions have forced us to reveal secrets that humanity has kept for decades. We need to discuss what you've done and what it means." "I didn't mean to cause problems," Taemin said. "I just took a test." "I know, but sometimes accidents change history." The ambassador activated a secure holographic projector. "What I'm about to show you is classified at the highest levels of human government. The display showed Earth from space, but with additional layers of data that Taemin had never seen before. Streams of energy flowed around the planet in complex patterns, and the space around Earth glowed with subtle colors. "This is what Earth really looks like," Ambassador Lee explained. "Our planet exists in a region of space where quantum fields behave differently than anywhere else in the galaxy. We call it the Sol anomaly." Dr. Do-hyun joined the presentation. The anomaly was created by a perfect storm of gravitational effects. Our Sun's magnetic field, Jupiter's massive gravity, the galactic center's influence, and several other factors. It makes the laws of physics more flexible in our solar system. Humans have been evolving in this environment for millions of years, the ambassador continued. Our biology adapted to take advantage of quantum field fluctuations. Every human has some ability to influence reality at the quantum level. Taemin stared at the display. "Everyone knows this?" "Not everyone. Most humans never realize their abilities because they're subtle, but our governments have known since the 1940s. The 1940s? Dr. Do-hyun activated another display showing historical documents. World War II. Pilots reported impossible maneuvers during aerial combat. Soldiers survived situations that should have killed them. Scientists noticed anomalies in nuclear testing that didn't match theoretical predictions. We've been studying and hiding these abilities ever since, Ambassador Lee added. When we made first contact with the galaxy, we realized how dangerous our abilities could be if revealed too early. Why dangerous? The ambassador's expression was grim. Because some of the abilities are more dramatic than catching light. The holographic display changed to show recordings of human test subjects in laboratory settings. One woman bent a steel bar by touching it lightly. A man made a heavy object float in the air. Another person seemed to walk through a solid wall. These are extreme examples, Dr. Do-hyun explained. Most humans show minor reality manipulation, better reflexes, enhanced intuition, occasional probability modification. But a few can do things that would terrify other species. Like what? Manipulating gravity, altering the flow of time, changing matter at the molecular level, accessing alternate dimensions. The ambassador paused. One subject in our classified program can apparently create and destroy small amounts of matter with pure thought. Taemin felt overwhelmed. Are you saying I could learn to do those things? We don't know your potential yet. But catching light with your bare hands suggests significant ability. Outside the secure conference room, representatives from dozens of alien civilizations waited for answers. The Galactic Council had convened an emergency session to decide how to respond to humanity's revelations. Dean Young-soo entered the room with several other Academy officials. The Council is demanding full disclosure of human abilities. Some species are calling for immediate restrictions on human travel and technology access. What kind of restrictions? Taemin asked. Quarantine, Young-soo replied bluntly. They want to isolate humanity until your species can be properly studied and contained. Ambassador Lee stood up. That's unacceptable. Humans are members of galactic civilization now. We have rights. Rights that may be revoked if you're deemed too dangerous, Young-soo warned. The Council is frightened. In their experience, species that can manipulate physical laws become either gods or destroyers. And which do they think humans will become? They're hoping for gods. They're preparing for destroyers. The debate continued for hours. Meanwhile, Taemin sat in his room with Binwoo, watching news feeds from across the galaxy. The reaction to humanity's revelations was intense and divided. Some species expressed wonder and excitement. The ethereals wanted to collaborate on energy manipulation research. The crystallines were fascinated by human neural patterns. Several scientific organizations offered full scholarships for human students. Other species were openly hostile. The Draconian Empire declared humans a potential threat and moved warships to defensive positions. The academic conservatives called for human knowledge to be suppressed to preserve galactic stability. What do you think will happen? Taemin asked his roommate. Binwoo's crystal form flickered through thoughtful colors. Change. Your species has shown that our understanding of reality was incomplete. Some will embrace that knowledge. Others will fight it. The next day brought surprising news. Several alien species had revealed their own hidden abilities in response to humanity's disclosure. The ethereals admitted they could manipulate energy fields beyond what they had previously shown. The Stonekin revealed an ability to affect gravitational fields. Even the crystallines acknowledged advanced quantum computation abilities they had kept secret. Everyone has been hiding abilities, Dean Young-Soo announced to the assembled students and faculty. The fear of being seen as too different, too dangerous, kept many species from revealing their full potential. Taemin realized that his accident had done more than break a testing machine. It had broken down barriers of secrecy and fear that had existed for thousands of years. Ambassador Lee called a press conference that was broadcast across the galaxy. Humanity extends an invitation to all species to study our abilities together. We propose joint research programs, shared knowledge, and collaborative exploration of what reality manipulation might mean for all of us. What about the dangers? Asked a reporter from the Tentacled Scholar Network. Every advancement brings risks, the ambassador replied. Fire can burn down cities or light the way forward. Nuclear energy can destroy worlds or power them. The key is wisdom in how we use these abilities. The response was mixed but gradually positive. Most species realized that cooperation would be safer than isolation or conflict. Research partnerships began forming between human scientists and alien experts. Taemin found himself at the center of the first joint research project. Scientists from 12 different species studied his abilities, trying to understand how human quantum manipulation worked. In return, he learned about the hidden abilities of other species. It's like the galaxy was holding its breath, Daun observed during one of their study sessions. Everyone was afraid to show what they could really do. And now? Taemin asked. Now we can all breathe freely. Months later, Taemin sat in the same testing chamber where everything had started, but now it contained new equipment designed collaboratively by human and alien scientists. The photon response matrix had been replaced with the reality interaction assessment system, a machine that could test abilities no one had imagined possible before. Students from across the galaxy lined up to take the new test. Each species brought their own hidden talents to light. The galaxy was discovering that reality was far more flexible than anyone had believed. Ready for another test? Professor Nixavara asked. Taemin smiled. What's the worst that could happen? I break another machine? With your record, that's entirely possible. As he entered the chamber, Taemin reflected on how much had changed. He had come to Nexus Prime as just another student hoping to study engineering. Now he was part of a galactic revolution in understanding reality itself. The machine powered up, and new types of tests began. This time, Taemin wasn't trying to avoid beams of light. He was learning to shape them, bend them, and create new forms of energy that had never existed before. Outside the chamber, students from dozens of species watched in wonder as the human boy who had caught light with his bare hands helped unlock secrets that would reshape the galaxy. The age of hidden abilities was over. The age of cooperative exploration had begun, and it all started with one confused student who just wanted to pass his test. The future was brighter than ever, filled with possibilities that even the galaxy's greatest scientists were only beginning to imagine.